Good morning, students. Today we will briefly discuss about the topics which we have discussed until yesterday. That is properties of bulk matters, particularly in case of solids. What are the properties of solids? Until we have discussed yesterday, we will briefly discuss today. So, in this unit, we are going to discuss about the properties of solids and fluids. That is mechanical properties of solids and fluids. And here coming to the particular topic, the matter can be divided into three types: solids, liquids and gases. Liquids and gases together are called as fluids. So we already know the solids have their definite shape and size, whereas the fluids, that is liquids and gases, do not have their particular shape or size for their own, and they occupy the shape or size of the container which we put them in. And coming to the definition of mechanical properties of the materials. So here, what is meant by property first? So if we say property, so the study of response of the material to the given input energy, we call it as the property of the material. So study of response of the material to the given input energy is called the property of the material. So property అంటే ఏమంటే ధర్మము అంటాం దాన్ని. అదే భౌతిక ధర్మాలు, రసాయన ధర్మాలు, జీవధర్మాలు, ఈ విధంగా. సో హియర్ వెన్ వై సే మెకానికల్ ప్రాపర్టీస్, దట్ ఈస్ యాంత్రిక ధర్మాలు తెలుగులో. సో ఈ మెకానికల్ ప్రాపర్టీస్ అంటే ఏమంటే ది స్టడీ ఆఫ్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఆఫ్ ది మెటీరియల్ టు ది గివెన్ మెకానికల్ ఎనర్జీ ఆర్ మెకానికల్ ఫోర్స్ ఆర్ మెకానికల్ స్ట్రెస్, we call it as the mechanical properties of the material. Similarly, the study of response of the material to the given optical energy is called as the optical properties of the materials. Similarly, the study of response of the material to the given input electrical energy is called as the electrical properties of the materials. Similarly, the study of response of the material to the given magnetic energy is called as the magnetic properties of the materials. So we are discussing now about the mechanical properties of the materials. In general, we are discussing about the mechanical properties of the solids, that is bulk solids here. So micro and bulk, when we take the object in small size, we can call them as micro size, and if we take the material in bigger size, then we call it as the bulk size. So if we want to discuss about the bulk properties of bulk solids or bulk matter. So here coming to the mechanical properties of the materials, that is mechanical properties of the bulk solids. So here mechanical property can be defined as the, as we have already discussed, the study of response of the material to the given input mechanical force or mechanical stress or mechanical energy. We call it as the mechanical properties of the materials. Study of response of the material to the given mechanical force is called as mechanical properties of the materials. So why we need to study all these mechanical properties means they are having very large amount of applications in the mechanical engineering. For example, if you want to construct a building or a bridge, etc., so there you need to study, you need to have the fundamental knowledge of all the mechanical properties of the material. So what are the requirements that are needed for development of a construction of a building? So you need cement, you need concrete. Concrete means made of mixing of cement, water, sand and iron, etc. And also we need glass, wood, etc. for construction of a building. So if you want to construct a building, you have to completely study what are the mechanical properties of the glasses, what are the mechanical properties of the wood, and what is the mechanical property of the iron, and what is the mechanical property of the cement, and what happens when we mix cement and water together. Similarly, if we combine iron or sand into it, what happens? So all these mechanical properties you have to clearly understand. Then only you can construct a strong building. So in order to, similarly, if you want to design a motor car or motor vehicle, etc., there also you need to understand what are the different mechanical properties of the, what are the tools that are used in designing a or assembling a motor vehicle. So like this, the mechanical properties of the materials play a very important role for the mechanical engineers. So here, so the definition of the mechanical properties of the material is the study of response of the material to the given mechanical force is called, or mechanical energy is called, mechanical properties of the materials. And here we are mainly discussing about the elasticity. So elasticity is the one of the mechanical properties of the materials. So first let us discuss what is meant by elasticity and what is meant by inelasticity. So if you take any material, if you apply some force, after removing the applied force, if the material regains its original shape and size, then we call that material as the elastic material, and that nature of the material is called as the elasticity. Is it clear? So elasticity is a fundamental property of the material. So the property of the material by virtue of which the material regains its original shape and size after the stress is removed is called elasticity, and the materials that exhibit elasticity are called elastic materials. Example, if you take a spring or rubber band, etc., so if you apply force, you can expand them. Similarly, if you remove the force, they come back to their original shape and size. So this is the property is called as the elasticity, and the materials that exhibit elasticity are called elastic materials. తెలుగులో అయితే స్థితిస్థాపక పదార్థాలు అంటాము. Similarly, after removing the applied force, if they do not regain their original shape and size, it is called as the inelasticity, and the materials that exhibit inelasticity are called as inelastic materials or plastic materials. So coming to the definition part, the property of the material where the material has permanent deformation after the stress is removed, that is, the material do not regain its original shape and size after the stress is removed, is called as plasticity or inelasticity, and the materials that exhibit plasticity are called inelastic materials or plastic materials. And examples are cardboard or aluminum wire, copper wire, wax, mud, etc. For example, if you take aluminum wire and if you apply some force, so it will be slightly bent and it will do not regain its original shape and size. So aluminum wire, we can say it as a inelastic material or a plastic material. Similarly, if you take mud or some chapati pindi ilantivi ఏమన్నా తీసుకున్నామంటే, if you apply some force on them, then again you cannot bring them back to the original shape and size. So like this, the property of the material where the material has permanent deformation, that is after the stress is removed, that is the material do not regain its original shape and size after the stress is removed, is called plasticity, and the materials that exhibit plasticity are called inelastic materials or plastic materials. So what is meant by deformation here? So if you apply force, if some changes are happening in the material, then we call that change in the dimension or shape or size of the material. Change in the dimension, change in the shape or size of the material as a function of applied force, we call it as the deformation. So deformation అంటే ఏమంటే, if you apply some force on a material, if some changes happened in the material shape or size, then that change we call it as the deformation. And this deformation, that is change in shape and size of the object as a function of applied force, is temporary and reversible in the case of elastic materials, which means it is temporary, which means if you apply the force, it will expand. For example, if we say, if you remove the force, they come back to their original shape and size. So it is not permanent, and it is also reversible. We can bring them back to their original shape and size after the stress is removed. While deformation is permanent and irreversible in case of inelastic materials. అంటే even though if you remove the applied force, the material do not regain its original shape and size, it remains permanently in the final shape itself. Whatever efforts you put, you cannot bring back to their original shape and size in case of inelastic materials. Next, going to the elastic properties of the solids. So here, what is the main cause of elastic properties of the solids? So if you see the atomic structure, when you say gaseous molecules, so the gaseous molecules are weakly bonded to one another. Gaseous molecules are weakly bonded to one another, and the molecules of the liquid are moderately bonded to one another. Similarly, the atoms or the molecules in solids are strongly bonded to one another. They have their own fixed positions. So if you apply some force on a solid material, so what happens? The interatomic spacing or intermolecular spacing will change. Interatomic spacing or intermolecular spacing will change. So this interatomic spacing or intermolecular spacing, so what is meant by interatomic spacing means the distance between the centers of two consecutive atoms. The distance between centers of two consecutive atoms is called as interatomic distance. Similarly, the distance between two consecutive molecules, we call it as the intermolecular spacing. So if you apply the force, onto a solid material, the interatomic spacing or intermolecular spacing will be changing. And when you remove the applied force, depending on the nature of the material, whether it is an elastic material or the inelastic material, they behave accordingly. Which means in case of elastic materials, after removing the applied force, the molecules or atoms come back to their original shape and size, original positions, by bringing back the entire material into its original shape and size. Similarly, in case of inelastic materials, the atoms or molecules are unable to get back to their original positions, so that there remains some deformation even though we have removed the stress. For example, if you want to see what happens at atomic scale for the solid, so we can see here. So this is the case what happens to a elastic solid material when we apply the force. So here we are able to see on the top in each row, so here a small portion is there. Here a small portion of the material we have taken, and when we see it through some microscope or something, high resolution device, which is through which we are able to see the atoms or molecules. So here this is the initial length of the material. This is the initial length of the material, and this is the arrangement of the atoms in the material. So here in each row you are able to see 4 atoms. In each row you are able to see 4 atoms. So similarly, if we apply some force, so if we apply some force, what happens means here the bond stretching will happen. The bond stretching will happen, which means the distance between 2 atoms, if you see in the vertical direction, the distance between the atoms has changed along the direction of the applied force. So along the direction of the applied force, the distance between the atoms has increased here. So when you remove the applied force here, when you remove the applied force, the atoms come back to their original positions, so that the material regains its original shape and size. So this is how the atoms behave in case of an elastic solid material. So like this, the change in interatomic spacing or interatomic distance or intermolecular distance is the main cause of the elastic properties of the solid materials. Similarly, if you see here, in case of plastic deformation, so here also you are able to see initially the length is L, and if you apply a small load F along its length, so here the bond stretching will happen. So the distance between atoms will increase. The distance between atoms along the force direction will increase, and also if you see here, the number of atoms per row is also changed, which means some sharing, which means the atoms have skipped into different rows. So here, along with increase of length or along with increase of distance between the atoms, some skipping of atoms also happened here. Some skipping of atoms also happened to here to the other rows. So this is what is called as the plastic deformation. And if you remove the applied force here, as you are able to see here, it is coming back, it is trying to coming back to its original shape and size, but not completely coming. It is coming, but it is not completely coming to its initial shape and size, and it is somewhat lesser than this final size, and somewhat more than the ఒరిజినల్ సైజ్ అన్నమాట. సో ఒరిజినల్ సైజ్కి ఫైనల్ సైజ్కి మధ్యలో ఎక్కడో ఒక చోట నిలిచిపోతుంది. సో దిస్ ఇస్ వాట్ వై కాల్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ది ప్లాస్టిసిటీ ఆర్ ఇన్ఎలాస్టిసిటీ అనమాట. ప్లాస్టిసిటీ ఆర్ inelasticity. So like this, the atoms are unable to, so if you compare here initial positions of the atoms and final positions of the atoms after this stress is removed, so you are able to see some difference maybe in the molecular spacing or number of atoms per row. So in both you are able to see the difference. So like this, there is some permanent deformation happened here. Some permanent deformation happened here. So and so we call them as the inelastic materials or plastic materials. And that nature of the materials we call it as the inelasticity or plasticity. And examples for inelastic materials are, as we have already discussed, aluminum wire, copper wire or mud, etc. So this is about the elastic properties of the solids. So what is the main cause of elastic properties of the solids is, at atomic scale, is the change in the interatomic spacing or intermolecular spacing as a function of applied force is the main cause of the elastic properties of the solids. And now let us discuss about various terms included in the elastic properties of the materials. So first let us discuss about the what is meant by stress. So stress is nothing but force by area. Force by area. For example, if you take a metal rod And if you, for example, if you take a metal wire of cylindrical shape and fix one of its ends to a ceiling and other end you have applied a load, say mass 1 kg, so that is load equal to F equal to mg, that is 1 into 9.8 meter per second square, that is equal to totally 1 Newton force you have applied. For example, let us say not 1 Newton, it is 9.8 Newtons. So 1 into 9.8 means it is 1 kg into 9.8 meter per second square equal to total 9.8 Newtons. Approximately, or if you take g equal to 10 meter per second square, you can say 1 kg weight equal to 10 Newtons force. 1 kg weight equal to 10 Newtons force. So if you apply 1 kg weight or a 10 Newtons force, so what happens? The material stretching will happen in the material. Stretching will happen in the material, and as a result, the length of the material will increase. The length of the material will increase, and some force in the opposite direction also will be generated. So when we are pulling the material downwards, it's the help of force F. So in order to maintain equilibrium, that is according to Newton's third law, for every action there will be equal and opposite reaction. So in opposite direction also, in order to maintain equilibrium, whatever the applied force we have applied, in the same amount but in opposite direction, some force will be generated, and that force that is being generated in the opposite direction of the applied force is called as restoring force. And this restoring force is equal to the applied force but in opposite direction of the applied force. So how much restoring force is generated per unit area of the material as a result of applied force? We call it as the stress. So restoring force generated in a body per unit area as a result of applied force is called stress. And when generally we represent it by letter sigma, so I can say stress sigma equal to force by area, that is F by A. And the dimensional formula is ml power minus 1 t power minus 2, because force is having the dimensional formula ml t power minus 2, and by area means L square. So we get ultimately ml power minus 1 t power minus 2, and the MKS units are Newton per meter square or Pascal, and other common units that are used in case of in the region of US are pounds per square inch. Simply we can represent by PSI. And here it is important for the conversion of units. 1 Pascal equal to 1 Newton per meter square equal to 1.45 into 10 power minus 4 PSI. So this is about the stress. So whenever we call stress, that is nothing but restoring force generated per unit area of the material. Restoring force generated per unit area of the materials. And if you see what is the direction of the applied force and what is the nature of the deformation in the material. What is the nature of the deformation in the material? So based on that one, we can categorize stresses into 3 types mainly. And one is longitudinal stress or normal stress, and another one is shearing stress or tangential stress, and another one is bulk stress or volume stress or hydraulic stress. So let us discuss in detail about one by one. So first coming to the longitudinal stress. So in case of longitudinal stress, if the applied force and restoring force are parallel to the length of the material, then the stress is called longitudinal stress or normal stress. So here normal means perpendicular to the area. The force is being applied perpendicular to the area of the material or along the length of the material. So in case of longitudinal stress or normal stress, the forces are being applied parallel to the length of the material or the they are applied perpendicular to the area of cross section of the material. So we can have two types of longitudinal stress or normal stress. So first one is tensile stress and another one is compressive stress. So we have two types of longitudinal stress or normal stress. One is tensile stress and the another one is compressive stress. And it is caused by, tensile stress is caused by the forces that stretch the material, which means the forces, here forces means applied force and the restoring force tries to increase the length of the material. If the applied force and the restoring force tries to increase the length of the material, then it is called as the tensile force, and the restoring force generated or developed in a body per unit area of cross section of the material as a result of applied external stretched force or tensile force is called tensile stress. The restoring force developed in a body per unit area of cross section of the material as a result of applied tensile force is called tensile stress. So you can see here the figure, if you see here. So here whatever is shown by blue dotted lines here, that is the initial size of the cylindrical object, and after applying the force, so downwards we have applied a applied force F, and in the opposite direction restoring force is generated in the same amount, and this is the area of cross section represented by A. So if we want to calculate the what is this stress, so that is restoring force generated by area of cross section of the material, that is restoring force generated per unit area of cross section of the material. So you can say sigma, that is tensile stress, equal to F by A in this case. Similarly, what is meant by compressive stress? So it is caused by the forces that compress the material. So the restoring force generated in a body per unit area of cross section of the material as a result of applied external compressive force is called compressive stress. The restoring force generated in the body per unit area of cross section of the material as a result of applied compressive force. As a result of applied compressive force is called compressive stress. So here, if you see in this figure B, so here the whatever is represented by dotted lines, that is the initial size of the material, and if you apply force F, so here if you see what is the difference between these two, so here in case of tensile stress and in the case of compressive stress, in both the cases the applied force and restoring forces are acting parallel to the length of the material, and they are parallel to the length of the material and also perpendicular to the area of cross section. But if you see in case of tensile stress, the restoring force and the applied force are acting away from one another and also away from the material. And if you see the case of compressive stress here, so here also the restoring force and the applied force, as the applied force and the restoring force are acting along the length of the material only, but they are acting inwards the material and also acting towards one another. They are acting inwards the material and they are acting towards one another. So this is the main difference of the tensile stress and compressive stress. And then coming to the shearing stress or tangential stress. So what is meant by tangential stress or shearing stress means, so until now we have applied the force in case of a longitudinal stress perpendicular to the area of cross section, but here we are applying a tangential force, which means we are applying a force in parallel to the area of the cross section of the material. So that tangential force, so the restoring force developed in a body per unit area of cross section of the body due to the applied tangential force is called shearing stress or tangential stress. The restoring force developed in a body per unit area of cross section of the due to the applied tangential force is called shearing stress or the tangential stress. So for example, here if you see, so here we are having a cylindrical bar, say height or length L, and area of cross section A as represented by the blue dotted lines here in figure C. So whatever is shown here with the blue dotted lines here, so this represents the initial shape of the or initial position of the cylinder, and if you apply some force here, so along the, so here this is the area of cross section on the top side, we are applying a tangential force F. So due to the applied tangential force, so here we are applying the force parallel to the area here, unlike the earlier cases. So here what is the result here? Result of tangential force. So in earlier cases the length of the material is either increased or decreased, but here the length of the material is not changing, but only the shape of the material is changing, which means the whatever point here it is Q, that is displaced by delta x, and ultimately this position reached to R. So QR, we call it as the tangential displacement. So tangential displacement is delta x, and the angle made is theta here. We have shown it by theta. So here we can see this tangential force by unity, tangential force by area. Tangential force by area we call it as the tangential stress. So shearing stress or tangential stress means the restoring force developed in a body per unit area of cross section of the object or body due to the applied tangential force is called shearing stress or a tangential stress. Similarly, what is meant by bulk stress or volume stress or hydraulic stress? So when a small rigid object is immersed into a fluid under high pressure, for example, if you take a ball or a balloon, etc., and if you jump into a swimming pool, for example, if you go deep into the swimming pool, so there you can see the force is being applied from all the directions. So object paina a balloon ledante ball, whatever it is, so from all the directions the force is applying on the surface in the perpendicular direction. So this force being applied by the liquid surface, we call it as the hydraulic force or hydraulic compression, we can call it as. And if we talk in terms of stress, we can call it as the hydraulic stress. So this compressive force from all the directions tries to decrease the volume of the material without changing its geometric shape. So in earlier cases, if you see here, whether it is a longitudinal stress, which means tensile stress or a compressive stress, or even in case of a side stress, the volume of the material is not changing. The volume of the material is not changing. But here the volume of the material is changing. What is happening in case of longitudinal stress means the length of the material is increasing in case of tensile stress. The length of the material is decreasing in case of compressive stress, and the shape of the object is changing in case of shear stress. But the volume is remaining same in all cases. సో ఇక్కడ మనం చూసామంటే టెన్సైల్ స్ట్రెస్లో పొడవు పెరుగుతుంది, లావు తగ్గుతుంది, అంటే డయామీటర్ తగ్గుతుంది. పొడవు పెరుగుతుంది, డయామీటర్ తగ్గుతుంది, విచ్ మీన్స్ ది వాల్యూమ్ ఈజ్ రిమైనింగ్ కాన్స్టెంట్ అనమాట. సిమిలర్లీ ది షేప్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో రిమైనింగ్ కాన్స్టెంట్. Shape is remaining constant, volume is also remaining constant, but only the length is increasing here. But if you see in case of compressive stress here, so the length of the material is decreasing. Here. So అది పొట్టయ్యే కొద్దికి లావ్ అవుతుంది, which means the volume is remaining same. So in this case also the shape of the object is not changing and volume is also not changing, only the length of the material is decreasing without any change in the shape or volume of the object. But if you see the case of shear stress, here, so here there is no change in volume, but the shape of the object is changing. Here there is no change in volume or the length of the material, only the shape is changing. So here this type of stress we call it as the, which we are applying in tangential direction, that is the restoring force generated per unit area of the cross section of the material as a result of applied tangential force is called tangential stress. Similarly here if you see the case of bulk stress, so here bulk stress, here we are saying about the hydraulic stress, which means the force being applied by the liquid, we call it as the hydraulic force, and if we say in terms of stress, we can call it as the hydraulic stress. So here hydraulic stress is nothing but the restoring force generated per unit area of cross section of the material due to the applied hydraulic force of compression trying to reduce the volume of the object is called bulk stress, or it is also called as volume stress or hydraulic stress. So once again, the restoring force generated per unit area of cross section of the material due to the applied hydraulic force of compression trying to reduce the volume of the object is called bulk stress or volume stress or hydraulic stress. So this is about the various types of stress. And then coming to the types of strain. So strain is nothing but, it is generally defined as the ratio of change in dimensions to the original dimensions of the object. Ratio of change in dimensions to the original dimensions of the object, that is fractional change in the dimensions of the material due to the applied external force is called strain. And here strain is simply the ratio of the similar dimensions of the object, that is change deformation length by original length. Deformation dimension by original dimension. Deformation, so strain equal to deformation dimension by original dimension, so that the dimensions are same in both the numerator and denominator, so they get cancelled, and ultimately we get the strain to be a unitless quantity and also a dimensionless quantity. And similar to the stress, we can have similar types of strains. we can categorize them again into three types of strains. So if you see here, related to longitudinal stress, we can call it as the longitudinal strain, and related to the shear stress, the related strain is called as shear strain, and related to the volume stress, the related strain is called volume strain. So if you come to the longitudinal strain or normal strain, so here also longitudinal strain or normal strain is defined as the fractional change in the dimensions of the object as a result of the longitudinal stress. That is how much change happened divided by original dimension. We call it as the strain in general. So longitudinal strain is denoted by epsilon here. Stress is represented by symbol sigma. So here stress we can represent by Greek letter sigma here. Stress is represented by Greek letter sigma, whereas the strain is represented by the Greek letter epsilon. So similar to the longitudinal stress, the longitudinal strain or normal strain is also two types. We can see one is the tensile strain and another one is compressive strain. So what I mean by tensile strain? The fractional increase in the length of the material as a result of applied tensile stress is called tensile strain. The fractional increase in the length of the material as a result of applied tensile stress is called tensile strain. For example, if we take here in the figure, so ఈ ఫిగర్లో మనం చూస్తామంటే, so here we have applied a force F, at the bottom. So as a result, the restoring force is generated in the top of the object, and as a result of this tensile stress, the length of the material is increased from L to L prime. So ఇక్కడ original length is L, our initial length is L, and the final length is L dash now. So how much change in length happened means, that is we can say delta L equal to final length minus initial length, that is L dash minus L. L dash minus L, we can say it as the change in length of the material, as an increase in the length of the material. So delta L by L, we call it as the tensile strain. Delta L by L, we call it as the tensile strain, and we represent it by letter epsilon. So that is what we have said here. So tensile strain is the ratio of change in length delta L to the original length L. So therefore the object develops a strain, tensile strain epsilon equal to delta L by L. Similarly, if you go for the compressive strain, the fractional increase in the length of the material as a result of applied tensile stress is called tensile strain. So if you can see here in the same manner. So here in case of figure B, we have applied a force F onto a material which is having initial length L as represented by the blue dotted lines, and area of cross section A, and finally the length of the material is decreased, and ultimately it come to the size of the figure which is shown by red color. So here the length of the material is decreased, which means the final length L dash is less than the initial length. So if you take the change in length, that is delta L equal to L dash minus L here, so that we will get the negative value because L dash is less than L. So delta L equal to L dash minus L, you get negative value. So we will get the compressive strain also negative value. Compressive strain also negative value. So you get compressive strain epsilon equal to delta L by L, you will get a negative value. Similarly, the shear strain. So shear strain is a result of the shear stress. So if you see here figure, so here we have applied a tangential force here on the upper surface of the cylinder. So as a result, what happened? Whatever the point that is existing at Q has changed its position from Q to R, making a tangential displacement delta x. So if you take triangle PQR, so here Q is 90 degrees, and we can say tan theta equal to opposite side by adjacent side, that is tan theta equal to delta x by L. Tan theta equal to delta x by L. So this for smaller angles of theta we can take tan theta equal to theta. So we have tan theta equal to theta equal to delta x by L, and this is the tangential strain. So tangential strain is nothing but the ratio of tangential displacement to the original length or height of the object. So shear strain is defined as the ratio of tangential displacement QR, that is delta x, to the original length of the cylinder, that is PQ equal to L in figure shown below earlier. And it can be measured as the, so tangential strain can be measured as the tangent of the strain angle. So here theta we call it as the strain angle. So shear strain equal to tan theta equal to delta x by L. For smaller angles of theta we know that tan theta equal to theta, so that is equal to shear strain. So shear strain is defined as the ratio of tangential displacement to the original length of the object. And next coming to the volume strain. So it is also related to the hydraulic stress. So here if you see in figure here, so this is what is represented by black dotted lines, that represents the initial volume of the material, and due to the hydraulic stress, the volume has changed from V to V dash. V dash represents that is the final volume of the object as a result of the hydraulic stress. So here if you see how much change happens in the volume, so that is V dash minus V, delta V equal to V dash minus V is the deformation of the object. So if we take how much change, so here what is the parameter that is changing means, that is the volume change. So that change we consider that is the deformation. So how much deformation is happening, that is delta V equal to V dash minus V, and this is we get negative value here because V dash is less than V, that is final volume is less than initial volume. And if you say volume strain, that is nothing but delta V by V. So here also because delta V is negative, you get volume strain delta V by V also a negative quantity. So this is about the different types of stresses and different types of strains. So now we close here and we will continue the next session, slides, etc.